Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you're tuning in from. We are back with another TweakTown weekly podcast. It's been an interesting week for the last week or 10 days since we've recorded our last one. A lot of movements in the gaming market with obviously the consoles and the holiday season. A bunch of new games have been released. A lot of them have been patched up, like Halo and Assassin's Creed, that are constantly getting patched up. We're going to kick off the news with Nintendo. Nintendo have not really announced, but they're rumored to be working with Sharp on a new display technology. So Sharp obviously is a Japanese electronics manufacturer with a bunch of various technologies, like mainly that they concentrate on screen technology for mobile phones and smaller mobile devices. But they've got like something that they call like a shape-shifting or free-form LCD, which can obviously be stretched or moved in a different direction versus the standard square and rectangular shaped devices. And what they actually want to, or what Nintendo want to do with this, is they actually want to use that technology on a successor to the 3DS, their little portable handheld gaming device. So we don't know what they're going to do with that, but if they were to release maybe a Nintendo 3DS that when you're playing a game and you want to have a super tall screen, you'll be able to maybe stretch it out. You want to have a super wide screen, or maybe you want to go to a 4x3. That's the rumor. We don't know much outside of that. That's going to have a free-form or shape-shifting screen, but there you go. Chris Smith is also joining us. What do you think about that?
Yeah, Nintendo's got a few interesting things. Hey, I remember early December. I'm just looking at an article here posted on the 1st of December. They filed a patent application for a Game Boy emulator app as well. And I wonder if this is somehow linked. Like, according to rumors anyway, the Game Boy emulator app that they want is to put in the back of like planes and like plane seats and things like that. And so I wonder if this can somehow be linked. Whether these kind of changeable screens could be developed with Nintendo software to do that kind of stuff. But it looks pretty interesting, especially given the photo. I'm just looking at the article here as well.
I think it'd be
Very
interesting.
interesting.
Like if you maybe even put them on the back of a plane. Well, not back of a plane, back of the seat in front of you, and you would
Yeah.
actually have a stretchable screen. That's a good idea. Like I think if Nintendo were to maybe move towards, I've talked about this in an article, maybe an editorial that I wrote, move towards maybe services and software, kind of like Sega did, instead of making hardware. If they were to maybe collaborate with Sharp on this kind of stuff and maybe kind of dive away from the hardware market as much as like in the console market at least and still do portables. That'd be really cool. Like imagine having a Nintendo kind of like, Game Boy slash 3DS slash whatever they want to call this device in a plane. That'd be really, really cool.
Yeah, that'd be so good for in-flight entertainment. I guess it's like the IBM way, right? You got to make yourself useful in as many ways as possible.
That's it.
Yeah.
Speaking about useful, Rockstar, the infamous makers of Grand Theft Auto. We've got two stories. So the first one is the online heist mode, which was supposed to be coming out with Grand Theft Auto 5 for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 in late 2013. It was delayed into 2014. It was then meant to come out as an update for the PS3 and Xbox 360. It was delayed again. Then Rockstar promised it for the Xbox One and PS4 re-release of the game, and it was delayed again. So it didn't make that launch back a couple of weeks ago now, and they're now teasing it for sometime early 2015. Online Heist, if you haven't heard about it, it's a 4-player mission that's added to the multiplayer side of Grand Theft Auto 5 or Grand Theft Online, or Grand Theft Auto Online, I should say. Where you team together with 3 other friends or 3 other people online, and you pull off heists together. So you can do bank heists and stuff like that. Sounds like an awesome idea. I'm actually pretty excited. I haven't played many games this year, but something like that where I can get together with 3 of my friends in a Left 4 Dead kind of thing, where it's like 2 or 3 of my friends playing the same game and the same mission. It sounds pretty cool, but they delayed it for a pretty good reason. Instead of doing an Ubisoft where they seem to just release a game that's finished, 50% finished or 20% finished these days, Rockstar came out and said that they didn't release it because it was not at the level we expect of ourselves. So it was good to have Rockstar actually admitting that they pulled it back instead of actually just releasing it and being broken, having to fix it and make tweaks to it constantly. But it's good to see like them coming out and admitting.
I feel like Rockstar's almost one of the only A triple plus titles that are, in quotation marks, doing it right. Just like you said, they're waiting to release things, but I don't think they can go wrong. Hey, I don't think it matters what Rockstar release. We know that it's most likely not going to be crap. Like they're almost like a Blizzard, I guess, these days. You can put them up there with a Blizzard. You know that no matter what Blizzard releases, it's going to be fun, and you know it's going to work. It's the same with Rockstar. You know, this online heist thing looks awesome. I think, you know, I'm undecided whether I was going to buy GTA 5 for the PC or not. Like I was just waiting. I'm not a real big fan of, you know, how we talked about the other week buying things, you know, when they're newly released. You know, I want to wait a little bit, especially to when the prices get cheaper and stuff. But you know, I think this online heist thing, I think it might bring me back. I've been looking for a game since about Battlefield 2 time where I can just jump on with my mates and just stuff around, you know, just run around and just blow things up and laugh and, you know, have a couple of amber fluids and just yell at each other over TeamSpeak. And I think this might be the one that actually brings me back. So hashtag the return, because Payday was pretty good as well. Like you said, this is going to be Payday-like, but yeah, this actually looks really decent. And like I said, I got that much faith in Rockstar. I don't think they can do much wrong, to be honest.
No, I think that's right. Like Rockstar do have that kind of like pedigree, you know, association with them. Everything they do seems to be just gold, and they haven't had that many problems. Like GTA 5 launched mostly problem free. Like a lot of the online parts of the game were pretty broken, but the single player side, you didn't hear about any, you know, bloody things that weren't being rendered properly, like in Assassin's Creed Unity or show-stopping bugs. And the next-gen version of it on the PS4 and Xbox One actually looks like a big jump. I'm really like pumped to see how much better the PC version runs, and if they include the online heists maybe at launch, like directly with the PC version, because they said early 2015, and January 27 is the release of the PC version. So
it makes sense as well, I guess, because you know they were talking about a release with the PS4 version, so they'd push it back to the PC and I hope drives themselves some more hype and get themselves banned from a few more stores, and away they go.
Yeah, banned from Target and Kmart again.
Yeah.
And continuing with Grand Theft Auto news, we actually had a tease. So we don't know. We're not saying that this is an official news. We said it was a rumor in the title. We've said it's a rumor in the body of the news. But Grand Theft Auto San Andreas 2, the sequel to Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, is being rumored right now for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and most likely PC in 2015. So from what again, just a rumor. It could be fake. We're not saying it's completely true. But this game is supposed to be a direct sequel to San Andreas, and it takes place 7 years after the events of San Andreas, the original. So it takes place in 1999 with the same protagonist CJ making a comeback. We don't know anything else apart from that, but it's cool to see that maybe Rockstar, instead of releasing a game, you know, like GTA 5 and then re-releasing it on Xbox One and PS4 and then releasing it in 2015 and then not having any GTA for a year or two, it's cool to actually see them maybe just continue and release another GTA game straight away.
Yep. Yeah, I find what's so good about these GTA ones as well is it's, you know, you kind of get a mix between people. It's just the GTA style of the free play being so good matched in with the storyline. You know, once you get bored of the storyline, just run around blowing things up. But the same things get pretty boring after a while. So I think all they need to do, honestly, is just release. Obviously, they're going to have a good storyline no matter what, but just release new different car skins and new roads and stuff, and that's going to keep everybody happy. Like I said, I don't think Rockstar can do any wrong. I think they're earning themselves a fanboy here, and it's not easy for me as far as PC gaming goes to be a fanboy or something, but yeah, I think this definitely looks interesting. But there's a lot of people doubting it. You know, a lot of people saying they don't see it happening and stuff, but you know, after all of this GTA 5 work, what have they got in the pipeline? Surely 100% of their GTA 5 developers aren't working on just porting it across to PC.
Yeah, that's it. And San Andreas was received so well. It's one of the best entries in the series. So for them to have actually like acknowledged that and not just made it would have been I think if they were to announce it as a remake, like maybe like a 1080p 60 FPS title, like that seems to be the popular thing these days, is releasing games from years ago in 1080p 60. I would be disappointed of that. I would expect Rockstar, with the amount of money and staff that they've got, to not only release GTA San Andreas 2, but also release GTA San Andreas 1080p 60 version, like a remastered version, like maybe a week or two or a month leading up, and then go, here you go, 1080p 60 for $10. Here's GTA San Andreas for $30. If they start with that and kind of like make it episodic content, like they could easily do that, and it'll be super successful.
Yep.
Speaking of what not to do with games, don't be the Sony UK boss, or at least Evolution Studios, where they're the developer behind Driveclub, which is an exclusive to the PlayStation 4. If you've been reading TweakTown or any other gaming outlet or tech outlet, you've probably seen that Driveclub has been a complete mess since launch. A lot of its online componentry was broken. The game sold well. I don't think we've seen many sales numbers on it, but it wasn't a complete disaster. But the game itself has been a disaster in terms of the game actually working and people being able to play with each other. So there's been patch after patch. The Evolution Studios have actually patched it quite well and very fast. But Sony's UK manager Fergal Gara, hope I pronounced that right, he's actually said that he's come out and he's embarrassed over the launch. So we've got a massive quote from him to IGN. So just quickly, he said that it was a disappointment. And he said that he apologises to any players affected and that they're doing their damnedest to make things right. So at least they're acknowledging it instead of Ubisoft, where they kind of sit behind their little prisms and not do anything. Most likely gaming on Game Boys, because that's the resolution of the future. But at least they're coming out and acknowledging that they're embarrassed. Like, if I was the manager of Sony or Evolution Studios, I'll be the same. You know, you can't say anything. You can't say anything different. Like, you're not going to come out and go, "Oh, we're proud of the game being broken for 3 or 4 weeks." You know, you've just gone out and spent, $200 million collectively across the world, and we're thankful for that. It's good to hear them apologise.
Yep, yeah, definitely. I mean, like we were discussing off air, and like some of the people were commenting on the TweakTown Facebook page and stuff. You know, what AAA title has been released recently that does 100% work? You know, and like we're talking about the other week, like, you know, what happened to games going gold and things like that. And just like the guy said in the comment, you know, it's your fault. Like, he's talking to everybody, as in it's everybody's fault. You got to pay. You know, you got to pay for this game. Why are you buying a game? Why aren't you voting with your wallets? You know, like your analogy that you've used a couple of times before, both on and off air, you know, if you go into a movie and the movie turns off after 10 minutes, you're going to be like, oh, well, you know, keep my money, I'll come back next week for the movie. You know, that's unacceptable. So why would you do it with the game?
Yeah, and I think that's where these games are getting to a problem. Like we're talking off air, like, we're paying so much for these games. Like in Australia, we're paying sometimes over $100 for these games. $100, like that's not a $20 or $30 game. Like, you know, even $20, $30, I don't expect to buy a broken game. And half these games on Steam Greenlight, you know, they're not even AAA, nowhere near a AAA title, and they're actually more stable than this big title that has, you know, this big developer behind it worth billions of dollars and has tens of thousands of staff across the world, and they're releasing these games that are just clearly broken. It's good to see them come out and actually be transparent and say, like, using the word embarrassed is a strong word. That's a very emotional word for them to use, which is, I think it's great. I think it's really, really good to hear.
Yeah, I think I can get more game time or more play time out of a $100 fancy meal at a restaurant than I can out of some of these A triple plus titles.
Yeah, and putting it into context to a meal. It's like getting 5 minutes through the meal and then feeling that you have to go to the toilet and then sitting on the toilet for the next half an hour, then coming back and then them going, just eat it. It's still a meal. It's okay. You'll be fine. You can't do that. We're not going to go into it because that's like a whole discussion on itself.
It's a broken record.
It is. It really is a broken record. Speaking about records, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, the latest entry from Activision and Sledgehammer Games, it has been the #1 best-selling game in the United States for 2014. So Chris only wrote this news a couple of hours ago, but yeah, the studio Activision have come out and said that the #1 and 2 top-selling games in the United States were Call of Duty Advanced Warfare and Destiny, which were published both by Activision. It was #1 on Xbox One, PS4, Xbox 360, PS3, and the #1 kids video game was Skylanders, which probably isn't a surprise to most parents. The #1 top-selling new video game franchise of the year through to November was Destiny. So Call of Duty leads November console game sales for the sixth consecutive year, which is absolutely huge for the Call of Duty franchise. And second, the sales for Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Most thought, again, so while it is the most popular game in the United States for 2014, the numbers of sales were down 27% compared to Call of Duty Ghosts from 2013. So sales are actually down here 27%, which is a big number. Maybe gamers aren't so happy with them these days, but you can tell that people are starting to vote with their wallet on these kinds of games.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at the Steam stats as well, because like this article says, it's all about consoles, and it's interesting to have a look. It's ranked Advanced Warfare multiplayer. Sorry, is ranked under, let's see, Dota 2, CS:GO, DayZ Beta, even Left 4 Dead 2, Borderlands 2. It's ranked under Counter-Strike Source. So I
Wow.
wonder if it's the PC people are really, really taking a stand here. It's ranked under Rust, Football Manager, 7 Days to Die. It's just crazy all the way down. Just to add a quick look, it's like in the 30s out of
But
the
see, I
stats.
think the sales are big, but the customer satisfaction from that doesn't seem to be that big. People don't seem
Yeah,
to be happy with these games.
and like I said in the article as well, I want some feedback from people. Do they think the customers are getting fed up with the rehash of every Call of Duty? Like just a reskin and just pump it back out with some new people, and the bad guy dies at the end, or what's going on with that? Is it just people stopping pre-ordering, which is why the sales are down a little bit? But like I also say, it's the same as a League of Legends thing. You can't deny that they're making ridiculous amounts of money, and it's got to be for a reason. So you got to give them some credit at least for that.
Well, I think it's just that they're just rehashes. Like they're just the same kind of game over and over and over. And I think people, like you said, people are fed up with that.
Yep.
Speaking about fed up, well, not really. I think this is a kind of new entry, but people are fed up about maybe hearing about Metro and the constant re-releases. Metro Redux. So you've got Metro 2033 and Metro Last Light, and then they've got the Redux version of those two games. They're actually released on Linux, which is pretty big by itself. It's probably not that much news, but it's actually pretty cool to see 4A Games releasing these two titles onto Linux. But not only that, they're actually being released for SteamOS as well, because SteamOS is obviously a Linux-based operating system from Valve. And on top of that, if you have already purchased Metro Last Light and Metro 2033 Redux, they'll already be in your Steam library ready to go on SteamOS, which is really, really cool. You don't actually need to do anything more to actually play the game on SteamOS. And a lot of people thought that, again, releasing it on Linux or releasing it on Steam, you're not going to get a lot of the graphical bells and whistles that you get with DirectX 11 on Windows. But you do. They have said that you get all of the graphical fidelity and performance that you get on Windows, and the game's obviously going to be running just as well. It'd be interesting to see what the performance is like versus the Windows version against Linux, and SteamOS, which is something that I hope to start doing in the new year, probably after CES, so maybe the end of January. But yeah, it's again, Metro Redux on Linux is a good step.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see when more and more games start coming out for Linux as well. We're finally seeing cross support with different OSs, not just no longer Windows being 100% of everything. There's a few games like Dota 2 being released for Mac and League of Legends and things like that, and CS:GO. And now we're moving into these other games as well that aren't developed by Steam or new age developers, I guess, like Riot Games.
I think it's good. Like a SteamOS, I think you're seeing developers like that aren't really controlled by a big publisher moving towards SteamOS, maybe because they see moving towards Linux because they see SteamOS as a big alternative to Windows next year.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the thing that comes with support as well. Think about an analogy of a Windows phone, for example. When I was looking to buy a new phone around October, like the end of October last year, one of the things I had to take into account is, what can you run on it? If I want to buy a Windows phone, can I use all the apps that I want to use? There's not as many apps compared to Android, and you can almost think like, in this case, Android is Windows and SteamOS is, SteamOS is equivalent to like the Windows OS on a phone.
If Valve
people
put the
can
right
play games,
it'll be alright. Like if they were to announce it with Half-Life 3 and really push it, it'll be big. It'll be big, and then you'll see more developers going, well, maybe I think that'll make more developers think maybe we won't just push towards consoles. Maybe we'll concentrate on Linux, which is PC still. It's another operating system for PC. Like if they do it for Linux, it'll just automatically work with SteamOS because the coding is there. So I think we'll see that kind of juggle. Hopefully, going into 2015, 2016.
Man, imagine Half-Life 3 release exclusive only to SteamOS. Imagine, I can't imagine Valve doing that, but that would be ridiculous.
But I think if they did, they would probably give SteamOS exclusive features. Or at least if I was Valve, I would release the Steam box and I would release it on Steam. I would release SteamOS obviously with Steambox and then release Half-Life 3 for free on SteamOS and Steambox, because then you're selling a killer app with a killer device at probably a cheap price, something like $3.99, $4.99. That's enough to sell a device on itself as Half-Life 3, and then just dump Half-Life 3 out on PC for $20. They don't need to make money off this game. They don't need to make money. They'll make money from the stuff in the game, like the microtransactions for things like Team Fortress 2. If they release Team Fortress 3 and Left 4 Dead 3 and do all the 3 games and make them free, imagine what the world, but the Steam would shut down. Steam servers wouldn't be able to handle that load.
Yeah, it'd be ridiculous. I'd have to upgrade to Telstra.
Telstra. Yeah, don't ever come to Australia, everyone. So Halo, speaking about big franchises that sell consoles, Halo, the current developer for the Halo games, 343 Industries, they've been going through a massive problem with Halo Master Chief Collection, but they've come out and said that they think that the Halo franchise will be around for another 30 years. 30, that's 30, not 13. There's 3 decades. The 343 Industries boss, Bonnie Ross, she's come around saying that she hopes to see Halo kicking around for another 30 years. And she said, quote unquote, I wanted to make sure we were able to go another 3 decades. Considering the studio itself, 343 Industries has only been open for 7 years. This is now 30 years for the Halo series. What do you think? Were you a fan of Halo when it very first came out?
Dude, Halo's been so up and down, I reckon. Like, I played the original Halo on PC, and the release before the Master Chief Collection and stuff, the latest ones, because I obviously follow the esports scene as well. And, Halo esports, especially in Australia, just completely died. Like, I remember the top team in Australia couldn't even be bothered to turn up to a LAN to win money. Like, they were, say, literally 3 times as good as the second best team in Australia, and they couldn't even be bothered to turn up to win $5,000 because that's how much they hated the game. Like, that's crazy. But so many people, including my girlfriend, are getting back in with the Master Chief Collection. They're going skits about it. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It's never been something that's interested me too much as a PC, mainly a PC player. But it's always cool to see that, the Halo kicking along there alongside the old Call of Duties and stuff. And when I was employed by Thermaltake, I went to a few midnight releases. I went to the Black Ops one, which was like 2 days after the Halo one, I think. And Halo still pulls some pretty good numbers. So, there's a lot of new crowds coming into that stuff.
I just wish that they released the games on PC. I think that they missed a massive market. If they released it on PC, it'd be great, but it would completely overshadow the Xbox versions. It'd just graphically, running the game at say 4K at 60 FPS. Is going to make the one on Xbox One running at 720p 30 or 60 FPS look like absolute crap. So.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
And speaking of developers, our last 2 stories are with Ubisoft, because Ubisoft, you know how much we love you here at TweakTown. We absolutely adore you. We love running your games on our super fast PCs with 4 graphics cards at 720p. It's the only way, truly it's the only way. So 2 things for Assassin's Creed Unity. They pushed back patch 4, which was obviously the 4th patch for the game. They were promising a bunch of improvements into the game, but they said that they had to delay it because, quote unquote, additional issues that needed to be corrected in the game before the update can be made available. They delayed the patch. The patch then came out, and everyone found out that it was 6.7 gig, which is absolutely huge for a patch. For some people, I've got a decently fast internet connection, 100 megabit down, 40 megabit up, but Chris, for example, has less than 1/10 of that. So for him to download the patch, it's going to take him hours versus me taking a few minutes, and not everyone around the world has a fast internet connection. And then we actually found out and reported just a couple of hours ago now that the Xbox One version of the game, some people are actually having problems with the patch, and they need to completely delete the game and reinstall it. Or they need to, or the patch is actually doing that for them, and it's downloading 40 gig, 40. It's just insane. 40 gig of download just for one game. So a lot of people didn't actually know about that, and you might have a 100 gig cap for the month, which a lot of people do here in Australia, and you go and blow through half of that in a patch. You're like, oh, I'll leave it. I'm going to school, uni, work, see a friend, girlfriend, whatever, and you go and download it 40 gig.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I think these new age games and new console releases have introduced the console people to the world of what it means for A, things to not work, and B, downloading lots and like deleting and reinstalling things, because you've never seen that at a console before, have you? Like, the PS3 was when it started off, I guess, but think about the PS2, for example. We put the game in, you play like straight away. But now, what have you got to do? I remember the first time I played GTA 5, for example. Or like my friend bought a PS4. he works for Google, so obviously he's got some fast internet at their office, but he just sends me all these Snapchats. He's like, oh, I got my PS4 finally, couldn't play it till 2 days later. All right, plug it in, turn it on. Oh, software update. All right, sit there through that update, put in his first game. All right, update. And then he's got like a 20 gig patch to download for that update, and then it doesn't work. Or you've got problems like the Wii U, how it was bricking itself, that we had previously with Smash Brothers and some other games like that. Like, it's just a mess.
I
Once
don't
again,
agree with
broken
it.
record.
Like it is. It's just it's so bad. Like I grew up with the Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive or the Genesis in the States, and you put a game in and it worked. You didn't need to do a firmware update to the console before it came out, and then you needed to do the day one updates and then day one patch and day one DLC. It's like if you don't have an unlimited internet connection, not only are you going through bandwidth cap, you're also having to have the speed. If you don't have huge speed, and these patches are getting big now, it's like people seem to be accustomed to 1 or 2 gigabytes for a patch. With slow internet connections, even 1 or 2 gig is a lot. That's not a small amount of download. That is a big chunk of download. That can be a couple of hours for some people. And
I remember my ridiculous Battlefield 2 1.41 patch, which is like 400 meg, and then 1.5 after that, which is 500 meg. But to put it in even more perspective, I started downloading Smite today because in some other gaming news that I'll actually be writing about soon after this is that they've opened up some esports stuff within Australia. But the whole game of Smite is 3.4 gig for me to download. That's a whole third-person online multiplayer online battle arena MOBA game, kind of like Dota but third person. And that whole game is 3.4 gig. And we're downloading a patch that is 4 gig.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yep.
I got 150 cap and I got like 2.8 megasecond or some crap because I live in peasant Australia.
Peasants Australia.
I'd give up. Like, I wouldn't even bother. I'd go outside, probably sell my computer, buy a jet ski.
How much is a computer worth, man? That's a lot of money.
Yeah. It's just ridiculous.
It is, and it's getting more and more out of control. Like, again, we're just talking about one game. If you've gone out and bought, like, say, Titanfall, and you've gone out and bought Call of Duty, and you've gone out and bought Battlefield 4, and you've gone out and bought Destiny, and you've gone out and bought all these games, like Halo Master Chief Collection, Assassin's Creed Unity, and if you were to buy all of it, like, say, if you were to, as a parent or as a friend, give an Xbox with all these games to someone for Christmas, you open it, you're like, sweet, I finally got the Xbox One that I've always wished for, and you put it on, you're going to spend the next 3.5 months downloading games. Like, that's just ridiculous. What are you supposed to do now? Oh, hey, little Johnny boy, there's no Xbox in the box, because what I've done is I've hooked it up to the TV 3 days ago so I could update the console for you, and I've used all your games because I've had to update all the games for you just so you can play on day one. No.
Yeah. And people, it's why I'm so boring these days, I think, playing Dota 2 and CSGO mainly, because the biggest patches they've released are 400 meg and they download in the background for me easily. I don't have the patience to download like a 40 gig game off Steam or Origin. I don't have the patience to download a 4 gig patch. It's just crazy. I'd rather just jump on and play some Dota and get really mad at myself and, wish I wasn't alive.
That makes me really happy to have VPN access. So I get like 12 megabytes a second off Steam.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
Too easy.
It's wonderful. All right, that's it for the gaming podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. We're going to be putting this one on Facebook, so we want to try and get some comments and let us know if you want anything shown off or done differently or more of or less of. Let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching.